last week, the sporting world received some exciting news as the officials for the National Football League returned to work. I think this is the first time in all of history that people have been excited to see the officials return to work. So often we're just used to complaining about officials and saying, oh, they missed this call, or they completely botched this situation, or they called a play that shouldn't have been called a certain way. But I think that in the absence of the NFL officials and the presence of the replacement officials, what became clear is that what's needed for a sporting event is to have officials who know the players, who know the game, who know the coaches, who know the nuances of what's going on and how people might try to dupe and trick them, and to be able to make that right call. Now, this isn't by any stretch of the imagination saying that the NFL officials have never made a mistake or will never make a bad call, but certainly what we saw with the replacement officials is that there were a whole lot more questionable calls made while they were in place. Certainly we can all think to that game between Green Bay and Washington, where I think most people recognize that it was most likely a pass interference call that was missed and a interception that was also missed, and instead it was ruled a touchdown, and Washington ended up winning a game that, in all reality, I think we could all say Green Bay should have won. And I'm not a fan of either team. I don't follow the NFL one way or the other. I'm a college football fan, so I'm not making this from a biased point of view. But my point in all of this is saying, as I was thinking about the role of the officials in a sporting event, I began to think of something that Father Robert Barron often talks about, and he talks about the Magisterium of the Church, the Pope and the bishops united together, as kind of being that living voice of a game, the same way that an official is a living voice of a sporting event. He uses the analogy of a baseball game, and he says that if you didn't have officials in a baseball game, it would quickly devolve into mass chaos. People would be fighting over a call. Was that ball fair or was it foul? Was the player safe or was he out? All these types of questions need a living voice that can answer the question to allow the game to continue on smoothly. Well, the same is true of our Catholic faith. One of the great things I think about the Catholic faith is that we do have this living voice that can guide us. You see, we believe that the bishops, when they speak in unison with each other and in unison with the Bishop of Rome, are safeguarded from error when speaking on matters of faith and morals. And this means that we can trust what they say. Now, I know that's a strong claim to make. So we have to say, what is this authority grounded in? Well, we believe that it's grounded in the fact that the bishops are the successors to the apostles. What do I mean by that? Well, see, when the apostles began their ministry, they ordained men to succeed them. And these men were given the same charism that they were given by Jesus Christ himself, that charism of infallibility when it comes to teaching the authentic faith. They knew Christ, the apostles knew Christ, and they passed those teachings on to these men who they ordained. And these men passed it on to their successors, and so on and so forth, right down to the present day, to our present Pope Benedict XVI, and to the College of Bishops. And so it's a wonderful comfort for us to know that the game of Catholicism, the game of our faith, so to speak, is allowed to continue because we have an authentic living voice who knows the players involved. They know Jesus Christ. They have that teaching that has been transmitted to them through apostolic succession. They have this charism, this gift given to them by the Holy Spirit, whereby they're safeguarded from error when teaching on matters of faith and morals. Now, to be clear, this isn't saying that they can never make an imprudent decision. Certainly NFL officials can make bad decisions, and you could probably YouTube or Google and find a number of bad decisions that have been made by normal, regular NFL officials throughout the history of the NFL. But they are this living voice who knows the game best. The bishops are the same way. They can make individual mistakes themselves, and certainly they can make imprudent decisions about how to implement the faith, or the best way to teach it, or practical decisions like that. But when it comes to the core of what they're teaching, the essence of what they're teaching, they're safeguarded from making error if it's a matter of faith and morals. And that should be a real comfort to us to know that the faith that we receive from them, even if it's not always given to us in the most practical manner, is authentically the faith that was given to the apostles by Jesus Christ himself.